March Madness is here, the bracket is set, and I'm guessing you haven't taken the time to watch all 3,000 games played across the NCAA season, but don't worry, I've got you covered with the breakdown of all 68 teams, their best player, their ceiling for the tournament, and everything you need to know before the competition ticks off in just a few short days. And by short, I mean really short. I had to cram my workload to get this video out on time, and I'm not going to force you, but there's a little red button down there somewhere that you could really do to help me out. And by now, you probably all already know that this is mainly an NBA channel, so to make sure I give you the most pristine, accurate college basketball information possible, I've brought on an expert to help with this video, my friend over at Full Court Dash. So while you're already down below subscribing to this channel, just scroll down a little bit further and make sure that you subscribe to him as well. Alright, you guys have employee bracket competitions and wager brackets to win, so sit back, grab a snack, and let's catch up on all 68 teams in March Madness 2025. Number 1. Auburn. Auburn is the best team in the country right now, being led by the best player in the country and National Player of the Year candidate Janai Broome. They've easily been the most dominant team all season as they possess the number 1 overall rank, the top ranked offense in the country. However, their defense falls all the way to around 13th place. That being said, they are still an elite level defense and possess a championship recipe on offense that does not rely on threes. And on the rare occasion their defense begins to lag and their offense is being slowed, they'll still have the option of the clutchest superstar in college basketball, Janai Broome. Their ceiling is easily national champions. Number 2, Duke. Duke might be the first team that comes to mind when you think college basketball, and when you pair that with their star freshman number 1 ranked recruit on earth, Cooper Flagg, it's hard not to pick them flat out as your national champion. Hell, they are my pick. Flagg will easily be the consensus number 1 pick when the NBA draft rolls around this June. However, can he get it done this March? I think that him and the Blue Devils have one of the best chances out of any team in college basketball right now, especially when you pair that with the nation's best defenders like Sion James and Kaman Maluach. This guy moves around the hardwood like a samurai sword and plays defense like an art form. Not to mention, Duke is the only team currently rated top 5 in both offense and defense. It is safe to say the Blue Devils are the team to watch. And if you're not sold on Duke just yet, I mean, look at this statistic right here. Come on, top 2 in history. At this point, I'm not even calling it a ceiling. At the end of this season, Duke will be national champions. Number 3, Alabama. In my opinion, Alabama is one of the most interesting upper seeds because they will drop 100 points with absolutely no regard for defense in one of the most entertaining games of all time, and they will still lose every single time. And Mark Sears is absolutely one of the premier prospects from this class. He's got the potential at the guard position to completely take over this tournament. However, I can only really see Alabama peaking in the Elite 8, and could they go further? Absolutely, but this isn't a boring video full of safe assumptions. I'm telling you my genuine take on things. Number 4, Florida. Florida is a great basketball team. I am super high on them, but they are definitely not untouchable in the way that Duke and Auburn are. They were a little iffy towards the later stretch of the season. However, they won a couple games to end it off, and they are another team that is top 10 in both offense and defense. They've by far had one of the hardest schedules of the entire NCAA, and the duo of Will Richard and Walter Clayton Jr. is definitely one to look out for, especially when guards tend to take over the tournament. I have no doubt that they're the type of players to put March on notice, and I'll be putting their ceiling at a championship appearance. Not a win, an appearance. Number 5, Iowa State. Iowa State are some frauds, and I am tired of seeing them mocked so far in this tournament. They have absolutely shit the bed on the back half of the season and will get the fraud checking of a lifetime early in this tournament. Honestly, the furthest I see these Cyclones going is the Sweet 16, and that's with one of the easiest paths in the brackets. Did I mention that they're frauds? Number 6, Texas A&M has looked very tragic towards this later stretch of the season with slightly tougher competition just dogging on them. And in March Madness, it comes down to getting hot at the right time and having a player who can take over. And yeah, they've got some pretty good scoring guards. They've had a tougher schedule and could potentially catch heat and go on a run, but that doesn't strike me as immediately possible, and I don't really see them as contenders, so I'll put their ceiling at the Sweet 16. 8th up to bat is Michigan, a sneakily great dark horse this March. They're a really well-rounded team with no glaring flaws, and they have that winning blood in them. Their best player's name is literally golden. I could see a world where Vladislav makes a name for himself in this tournament, similar to Moritz Wagner in the past, and they wind up in the Elite 8. I am super high on them. Number 9, Houston. I like Houston a lot in this tournament, man. Their defense is a classic Houston defense. They've got scoring from pretty much anyone coming in, but mostly LJ Cryer, who's been one of the better guards in the Big 12 this year. And I wouldn't be mad if you take them in your championship, but I'll set Houston's ceiling at a Final Four appearance. Number 10 is Tennessee, and they are the best defense in college basketball, flat out. They're also number 1 in KenPom defensive rating and have one of the hardest schedules of any team in the tournament. That being said, their offense is average for a team of their caliber. Their success will come down to if Chaz Lanier can keep the offense rolling later in the tournament, in which I'm not super confident in on the tougher side of the bracket, so I'll put their ceiling at a humble Elite 8 appearance. Number 11, Michigan State, and this is one of those teams. They've got an NBA caliber backcourt. They can really get buckets. They don't collapse on defense. Cohen Carr is going to give Mac McClung a 2025 national championship. I'll put their ceiling at another national championship contender. This team is different, man. Number 12, St. John's is a team most casuals don't pay attention to, including me, who was surprised to see them ranked so high. But I've done my homework, learned my lesson, and found out 3 things. They don't shoot threes, which is iffy. RJ Lewis Jr. is the truth, and I could see them in the Elite 8 at the latest. Number 13, Kentucky is one of those powerhouses that always look untouchable before the tournament and then turn into the most shocking first or second round upset. However, this year it's a bit different because they aren't a powerhouse anymore and they're expected to get upset and they are not sniffing the championship. I'll put their ceiling at a very, very far-stretched Sweet 16 appearance. Number 14 is Purdue, and that duo of Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn have the shooting. They've got the championship experience. Everyone thinks they're upset fodder, but I see a team led by guards rather than bigs for the first time since Jaden Ivey, and I'm choosing to believe in them, so I'll put their ceiling at the Elite 8. Number 15, Missouri is one of the scariest 5 seeds. Their depth personified and will pour everything into offense, which could translate well to the dance if the shots are falling. I think this team is more dangerous than people know right now, and do not be shocked if they end up in the Final Four. You heard it here first. Now that we're a solid 15 teams in, I think I'll turn it over to my friend over at Full Court Dash to cover the top 10 teams that should be on your national championship or Cinderella radar. Teams that may have flown under the radar, may have been slightly underrated this season, or are really good but really need to be considered as serious contenders. He'll take it away with his 10.
Arizona had a terrible 4-5 start to the season, but since then, Tommy Lloyd has made the emphasis to stop shooting as many threes and get the ball inside the paint more. They only get 24.9% of their points from the three-point line, which is 335th in the country. This change in style helped revive their season and it gives them a ceiling of a Sweet 16 appearance. However, the lack of shooting could lead to them being upset in the first round. Xavier is another team that struggled very early on in the season, but they're starting to figure it out. They have a very good offense, ranking 11th in the country in three-point percentage. And although they are an elite three-point shooting team, they don't get up a good enough volume of threes in my opinion, ranking 216th in the country in three-point attempts. It also doesn't help that they're one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the country, ranking 311th in that category. But they have absolute buckets at that guard position, and Zach Fremantle is a matchup nightmare. I think their ceiling can be the Elite 8 if they get scorching hot, but if they get ice cold, they'll be leaving the tournament in the first round. Kansas is the most experienced team in the country, and they have a Hall of Fame coach in Bill Self. Kansas has an absolutely terrific defense this year led by DeJuan Harris. However, they rank 288th in the country when it comes to forcing turnovers. They have a very good offense, but they don't get to the free throw line enough, ranking 355th in that category. With all this being said, I think they can definitely make it to the Sweet 16 with the right matchups, and I would say their floor is a round of 32 exit. I think they have enough to win their first round game. Pat Kelsey has completely revived the Louisville basketball program. He runs some of the best sets and actions you'll ever see in your life. These sets and actions have led to Louisville shooting the 17th best two-point percentage in the country. However, they have an over-dependence on the three ball. Louisville takes 48.8% of their shots from behind the three-point line, which is 12th in the country. However, they only make 33.3% of their threes, which is ranked 205th in the country. This poor three-point shooting could lead to them becoming a first-round exit, but if they get hot, I could see them scorching their way all the way to the Elite 8. With BYU's elite floor spacing, Keba Keita is able to be an absolute manimal on the offensive glass. He has an offensive rebounding percentage of 16.6%, which is ranked 7th in the country. This elite rebounding ability gives BYU a ceiling of an Elite 8 team, but their over-reliance on the three-point shot could make them a first-round exit. Texas Tech has been absolutely elite this year. They have the 7th best adjusted offensive efficiency in the country, and they are led by 6'9" JT Toppin. And as good as they've been this year, I'm not a believer in them because of the lack of depth in the front court. This is a very small team with only 2 players taller than 6'9". I think Texas Tech will have a game where they get in foul trouble and just can't defend the rim at all. It might sound crazy, but I'm gonna say their ceiling is the Sweet 16 and their floor is a first round exit. Donovan Dent is having one of the best point guard seasons we've seen in a long time, and he's a reason New Mexico plays at the 4th fastest pace in the country. But outside of him, I don't really trust this roster that much, and their free throw shooting is terrible Basketball coming in at 68.8%. I think they have a ceiling of winning their first round game but not going much farther, and I could definitely see them losing in the first round if the game becomes a very slow game with limited possessions. Vanderbilt is one of the smallest teams in the country. Their formula to winning is to play super fast and control the turnover battle. They are currently ranked 15th in the country in turnover margin, which could propel them to a Sweet 16 appearance. But if they have a game where they don't have a good enough turnover margin, I see them being a first round exit. UCLA is not a team I would want to be matched up with in March Madness. Mick Cronin is an absolute genius and this defense is locked down. The Bruins are ranked 6th in the country, forcing turnovers on 23% of possessions. And the offensive emergence from the 7'3" big Ade Mara has completely changed this team and given them a X factor. They're not the best shooting team in the country and their free throws are a little rocky, so if they lose a game, I think it will be from the free throw line. I think the ceiling for this team is the Final Four. Mick Cronin has shown in the past he can take any team very far in March.
Great analysis there. Make sure you guys go subscribe to him, and also while you're at it, subscribe to me. I mean, this video took a long time to make. Let's get back to the video. Number 25 is Clemson, and they've made the most of a lackluster strength of schedule. However, they showed up whenever tested, even beating Duke. They're one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now, got great experience, and I would not be surprised in the slightest to see them in a Final Four. Them and Missouri are proving the 5 seeds to be one of the most dangerous seeds this tournament. Number 26 is Mississippi State, and they're another team that fumbled the back half of the season. They've got no momentum heading into the tournament. Josh Hubbard is really their only saving grace, but I'll give Mississippi State a round of 32 ceiling at best. Number 27 is Maryland, and Maryland is one of my favorite dark horses. I love their big rebounders in Julian Reese and Derek Queen. Jacoby Gillespie and Rodney Rice have looked like a top 5 backcourt in college basketball as of late. I think they are a lock for the Sweet 16 if they weren't going against so many scrappy young underdog teams. So many teams that will put them on upset watch super early on, but if there's anyone that can overcome these 1 seeds and slight underdogs, I think it's Maryland, and I'll put their ceiling at a Final Four appearance. Number 28 is Ole Miss. Not much here. They're not going on a run, and I could see them gone quickly. Round of 32 ceiling. Number 30, Oregon, however, has been on a tear recently after a late season stretch of losses. I think Nate Biddle could be very well known by the midpoint of this March Madness, and I'll give them a Sweet 16 ceiling. Number 31 is St. Mary's, the definition of momentum. Their 2 best players sound like ancient Roman dictators. I'm not even going to try and pronounce these names. You guys can try it at home. You St. Mary's fans probably know how to say them by heart. And I think they have the chance to kill off some of the tournament's coolest teams en route to a Final Four appearance. That's right. Don't say I didn't warn you. And yes, in my bracket, I do have them losing to McNeese. Number 31, Troy, is another mid-major that a lot of people should be aware of. There's some physical dogs being top 8 in steal percentage and 5th in the country in offensive rebound percentage. So maybe they have a chance to strictly outdog a team or two. I'll give them a Sweet 16 ceiling. 32, Marquette fits the mold of having a buttload of good scoring guards, but they love to play down to teams and are 8th in the country in turnovers. That's a recipe for disaster. Round of 32 ceiling. Number 33, Memphis is so hot right now. PJ Haggerty is possibly the hottest player in NCAA basketball, but they're not Houston hot. As of recording this, the bracket isn't set, but I could see PJ Haggerty becoming a legend in March and taking this team to the Elite 8, so long as they don't encounter a team that's way out of their tax bracket early on. Number 34 is Creighton, and for the 100th year in a row, they will live and die by the 3-point sword. If they're hitting, they're going to the Sweet 16, but not any further because that's not a style that lasts. In all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised to see them bow out as first round exits. 35, Illinois is a solid team, but not one to pull off an upset out of their league. Kasparis is an insane talent, and I can't wait to see him in the league, and the current projections have them on an easy path, so the only way they end up being a real problem is if they can keep their lucky path. I'll give them a ceiling of the Elite 8, but I personally think both SDSU and North Carolina could come out and beat them round 1. Number 36 is Utah State, and they've got great sets, phenomenal coaching. They're one of the top assisting teams in college basketball, but again, I don't see them competing without an X factor. Round of 32 ceiling. Number 37 is Gonzaga, and the Bulldogs have taken a step back from the dominant marches they usually have, but experience and advanced metrics and all that bracketology bullshit has it working out for them. I personally don't see them driving up much of a storm, and there's no way they get past Bama. Their ceiling is the round of 32. 38, Baylor. Norchad Omier is great, but they're not making any noise en route for Florida. Round of 32. 39, UConn is back-to-back national champions, and their coach just three-peated in being the most hated coach in college basketball. I think with their experience, if they draw an easy sector of the bracket, I could see the Huskies lucking their way to a Sweet 16 appearance. Before we continue, I have some serious Cinderella picks that could absolutely mess up the bracket, and since that'll take up some of my time, let's just speed things up up a little bit before I get to them. Here are a few words to describe teams that will make zero noise in the tournament. Number 40 through number 52. Robert Morris, terrible. Jackson State, terrible. Norfolk State, absolute horseshit to the end of the season where they picked up a little bit of steam. Quinnipiac, bad. Bryant, terrible. Liberty, their sector is too stacked. West Virginia, their sector is too stacked. UNC Wilmington, no. Akron, terrible. American, bad. And St. Francis, great. No, I'm kidding, they're terrible. Number 51 is Drake, and they are one of my favorite Cinderella picks. And although they've been stellar all year, what really caught my attention was this comment on my Loyola Chicago video from last week, which you should definitely go check out after this. It's up there in the cards. Just click up there and just go look at it. This made me realize how similar they are, from being in the Missouri Valley Conference to having the Conference Player of the Year, and I think they will 100% make a deep run if they could end up in Duke's side of the bracket. They've got some tough matchups, which could easily get them out in round one. They rebound well, they play at their own pace, and they could very well wind up in the Elite Eight with just some bracket luck, especially with Cooper Flagg now being injured. Number 52, Lipscomb, is another mid-major Cinderella contender, and these boys can absolutely stroke the rock from three, and if they're hitting, it is going to be pretty damn hard for teams to combat that. You can grill me in the comments when their first round exits, but I'll give Lipscomb a Sweet 16 ceiling. Number 53 is Wofford, and their center shoots free throws granny style. Cool, first round exit. 54, VCU, and they are one of my favorite sneaky Cinderella picks. I love where they are in the bracket. I love their guard play, and I love how their conference has produced some of the best bracket busters in recent memories. Their 3-point percentages concern me, but I could see them potentially making a nice little trip down to the Sweet 16. 55 is San Diego State, and this team is pretty average, and I don't think they're gonna... hold on. Is that dude named Magoon? All right, never mind. SDSU is Final Four bound. Number 56 is North Carolina, and RJ Davis could very well make this tournament his own. The Tar Heels love to make a lot with the little when it comes to March, especially in more recent runs, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them all the way down in the Elite Eight. Number 57, we're heading back to San Diego, this time for UC San Diego, and hear me out. If they were in such a tough part of the bracket, I could see this team going far. They're top 5 in turnovers forced, and Tyler McGee could very well be the next white guy Cinderella mascot. I'll give them a stretch of a ceiling at the Elite Eight. Number 58 is McNeese, and they're one of the most fun and explosive offenses in basketball right now. Christian Shumate has been super solid, and they've been running through poverty teams all season. Copyrighted music, yeah. Easily national championship bound. I mean, just look at that clip. Now it's time for my fearful five teams that have absolutely zero chance of winning, yet I would bet the house on them coming away with just one game. Number 59, Yale. I'd be writing home about Yale if they weren't facing Wisconsin. But hey, Princeton taught us not to fully count out the Ivies just yet in March. 60 is High Point, and these boys are dogs, but they are dogs en route for the hardest path in the tournament. 61 is Utah Valley. They play Kentucky, who loves to get upset, and Kentucky has sucked this year, so you got to keep them on their radar. 62 is Northern Colorado, and I only put them here because I'm the number 1 Iowa State denier. Go Bears. Number 63, Georgia, has been on a tear this year. They've beat some really great teams and lost to a lot worse teams, but the reason why I put them here is because I can see a world where this low seed ends up all the way in the Final Four, getting past Duke and some other great dark horses. Is this stupid and completely baseless? Yes. And will they probably be first round exits to UConn? Yes. But dude, I've got like 4 teams left in this video. Just let me have this. Now we're down to the final few teams, and the bracket isn't set yet while I'm writing this. Hey, editing I'm on here, and I completely underestimated how many teams could possibly make the field. All of these teams could make the field. So I apologize if you're a fan of them and I didn't get to talk about them, because while I wrote this script, they were not currently in the tournament. But honestly, it's really rare for any of them to end up past the Sweet 16, so if they do, that's my bad, but they probably won't. 64, Texas was dog vomit for the back half of the season before managing to sneak into the tournament. They don't deserve to be here, and they might not even make it in. Their ceiling is a first round exit at best. Number 65, Arkansas, matches up well against Michigan. I like the battle of forward bigs, and the winner of that first round game is going to the Sweet 16. Number 66 is Montana, and their best player is named Money. And to be fair, dude is money. Their first round exit. 6-7 is Nebraska Omaha, and this is the first time UNO has ever made the tournament. And I'm an Omaha native, so this means a lot to me, but I'll try not to be biased. That being said, they're up against an insane Michigan State team. However, they beat up trash cans after every win, so national championship bound. And finally, the final team of the 68 team field heading into March Madness, number 68, SIU Edwardsville. And this team, first round exit. Subscribe, it's free.